Hello, and welcome to the June episode of Malaysian Students Podcast. Today, I'm joined by our three regular podcasters, Felicia,
Hello, everybody.
Junjie,
Hello everyone.
and Guahao.
Hello.
Our today's topic for the podcast will revolve around the topic of refugee, in conjunction with the World Refugee Day on the 20th June, which coincidentally is our first year anniversary of the podcast.
Yay!
Woo!
Nice.
Time flies.
It has been 1
Finally
year.
1 year.
Time flies.
Before we start our episode for today, let me ask you guys a question. Do you know approximately how many Rohingya refugees are there in Malaysia? Is it A, 9,000, B, 100,000, or C, 300,000? Give it some thought, and I will reveal the answer at the end of the episode.
Should we answer as well?
Don't think so. You should answer.
I think we don't need that since we know the answer. And guys, for the listeners, there's a tips here. Malaysia was the Malaysia hosts the greatest amount of refugee from Rohingya in ASEAN. Yeah, so this might be a tips for you guys.
But don't get
Yes.
confused.
Yeah, so bear with us till the very end of the session to know the answer. Don't skip out.
All right, now to the regularly scheduled program. The first question. What is your opinion towards refugees in Malaysia? Let's start off with Felicia.
Like a teacher called out my name. So for me, I'm not sure about this statement is authentic, but this is just my 2 cents lah. Refugee in Malaysia, I personally view them as victim actually, because they come to our country Malaysia, because of maybe their safety isn't assured in their own country, or they suffered from some struggles like war or anything that could threaten their life in their country, and they come here to seek for safety and job. So I actually personally view them as a victim lah. Yeah.
Or maybe they're suffering from racial discrimination or maybe genocide. Those can be factors lah that why they come to Malaysia to seek refuge.
Yes, most of them are forced to leave their country and come our country to seek for like asylum, or they're going to find some jobs here. But honestly, I don't have good impression to them. Because based on some news, their behavior are not appropriate at all. For example, they come here and conduct some criminals in Malaysia, and they don't want to cooperate with local people. Yeah, but still, we need to be open in talking about this topic.
Yep. I think mainly it's caused by because they don't treat this land as their country. They treat it as just as a temporary shelter for them. So that might be one of the cause for that crime thing lah. But we'll talk about it more in the next question. How about our teacher, Rishi? So Rishi, what's your
Sure.
opinion towards refugees in Malaysia?
As for the crime rate, it is not everyone, right? So it's just a tiny proportion. But I might will talk about this more in the next question. So in my opinion, refugees are fellow humans from different countries coming here for refuge. It's just that they are in need of our help. They're not wanting to come here just for fun. They're here for their needs. So I don't have a big impression of them, actually. I don't see them as a victim or a predator. They're just humans.
Mm.
Your answer seems I don't have point.
Exactly, the truth. Because Felicia said victim and you said predators, what am I supposed to say? But there's one thing. They might not be from our country, but they deserve their rights as humans. So that's as far as I see. They should receive their needs no matter they should be treated right no matter where they are. That's all. Okay, so let's move on to the second question. This question is quite interesting. Do you think the presence of refugees in Malaysia has affected social harmony? Finish first. And are they competing with local people in finding jobs?
Yeah, I think I can start for me.
Go on.
I definitely think their presence has affected our social harmony. Like I heard a story before. There was a landowner, like maybe he has a oil palm or what, and one day there are 2 or 3 refugees. Yeah, Rohingyas. They are Rohingyas. They come to the oil palm and they seek for help. They want the boss to give them the jobs, and they say that they will work very hard during this period. So the boss say, "Oh, okay, that's okay because you two seems like quite kasian, you know. They don't have jobs. They don't have the place to live, so they just give them the jobs." Initially, they are doing quite well, you know. They are very hardworking and they give good cooperation. But gradually, the number of refugees coming to to work for him has increased. And now the problems comes. They want to give cooperation with the boss and they are trying to conduct some crime. Um, yes, they conduct a lot of problems to the boss. And so the boss, they don't want the refugees to come anymore to find jobs. So he just say, yeah, I just limit 5 of them or 10 of them to work here. But those refugees, they don't want to listen to his advice. They just come and they just live in the place without the permission. So after that, he find police to help to eliminate those refugees. And so this is not a good story, but it can reflect the real personality of some refugees. Yeah, they don't have culture because of their educational background or what. Yes.
True. Actually, for me, like the first question, I mean, from the statistics and the news, and even the real life story that Junjie shared just now, the presence of refugees definitely somehow affected the social harmony in Malaysia, including those crime and those incorporate in refugee employment. Um, but then I think we need to reflect and sit back to think about the causes of this issue lah, like, and also the way that we view crime, because crime isn't only the dark side of humanity, but then somehow sometimes, I mean, like, most of the crime may be caused by like the marginalized community. They are forced to do the crime, like stealing, in order to live, because of they don't have skill for them to get into employment. Then they need to feed their family, so somehow they need to, like, you guys get me, right? So talking about crime, I do think sometimes they are forced to do that lah. And what we can do is actually to um, equip them with more social, educational skill and more opportunities.
Yes, actually we all know that lah. But the government need to like contribute quite a lot of money to
Yeah.
kind of like investing them or educate them. But in some countries in Europe, the refugees actually become labor force of the country, especially in Germany. So it is quite, I would say they have their roles also.
Mm. Like most of the refugees are doing the job that local people don't want to do, like the dangerous one, like cleaner or the petroleum.
Maybe. Yes. And this leads to the next question. Yeah.
Yes. How about Paul and Rishi's point of view?
Toha, you say first.
Well, you guys basically just sum it up already. I really don't have much other things to add.
Alright then. The competition of of not Rohingya people only for refugees with local people in Malaysia is their demand for salary. Malaysian people with our educational background, we tend to expect more salary for what we are doing. But it's not the same with refugees. They're happy with minimum salary for maximum effort. Like as you said, they do dangerous jobs, cleaning at skyscrapers, maybe, then petroleum and everything. Those things are very dangerous, but they are okay to work for minimum salary because if you convert to the currency, it's a very high amount. So the competition between them and local people is real. Many people are more inclined to get refugees to work for them if they have permit rather than having local people to work because local people demand while refugees most of them don't demand. But as Junji has said, if they are overemployed at certain point they might start to not listen to their boss or their owner, so that may cause a problem. True. So if no one has anything to say, I will go to the next question.
Yes, Rishi. Um, but we need to know the difference between refugee and foreign worker. Like the local people, we are more likely to invite the foreign worker to work with us, but not the refugee. That is a problem.
Well, I used the word permit, sorry. Okay, I'm not saying everyone, but some Malaysians, they are okay to have refugees to work with them for a low pay. Do you agree, Junjay?
Yes.
Yes, right. So that's the point. That's why they tend to choose refugees compared to local workers. I should have not used the word permit. Okay. All right then. Next question. This question is kind of a imagining question. Okay. The refugees in Malaysia are mostly from Myanmar, comprising of Rohingyas, Chins, and other ethnic groups. Imagine that you are one of the refugees. What do you think the government can help you with? So, refugee number one, Junjie.
I think important thing, if I'm a refugee, I want the government to give the legal access. But the thing is, as a refugee, I will need to cooperate with the government and also especially the local people. We don't want people to treat us like a criminal or or people that will cause troubles. And one thing I hope the government can cooperate with the United Nations in handling this stuff and to give us the legal access to find formal work. Yeah.
Yep, actually very true. Like in this year, 20th of April, around that time, I think there was a very shocking and very popular news in Malaysia that there were the death of 6 Rohingyas refugee, including 2 children, 4 adults, because they ran away from the detention center. And the United Nations UNHCR said that they couldn't really chip in to solve this case because Malaysia government not allowed them to do things with the detention center, and the condition for detention center is very bad. And yeah, during that moment, the people, like the refugee, were very afraid of that because they don't want to got caught back into their own country. So they tried to escape, and during the escape, like the death case just happened. So it's really important for the cooperation, so that like can reduce the negative impact. And for me lah, if I were one of the refugees, I think from the point of view of a teenager, what I really want is actually the education. Like I hope to receive proper education and proper skill training from the government, if possible. Like equip myself with proper knowledge and can do things to contribute, and also to earn some income to feed my family.
Cool. Nice. So now, Guahao, what's your point of view?
If I was one of the refugees, well, problem is I don't really know, I don't really do much research on like what the government are doing to help the refugees to settle into the country that they are seeking asylum in. And also, I'm lucky enough to not be one of the people who are seeking asylum in another country. I'm lucky enough to be a citizen of the country that I'm staying in right now. So I don't really know like what the situation or the living standards for. I mean, I don't really know the situation like the refugees are facing in. So to be on the safe side, I don't really want to comment on this question. So yeah.
So that long speech was to say don't answer.
you got to make it long one. If I just say no comment and then no.
So you just said, oh, because of all of this thing, I don't want to answer. Okay, I'm going to try to say something, but I'm not sure whether you will understand or not. 授人以鱼，不如授人以渔。Okay, so I just tried that. Okay, that means give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. This one goes hand in hand with what Junjie said. Getting formal work. If I were a refugee, I would prefer to have a work, not any normal work, a formal work that is respected. Because as a human, the important things that we need is food, shelter, and of course water, but water comes under food. These two things, food and shelter, are the most important thing. To get both of these, in this current world, we need income. So if I have a work and an occupation that I could do to get income, that I could use to feed my family and myself, that is the best that anyone can give me. A work to feed myself. That is all.
Wow,
In a way,
fantastic.
I just said what you just said in a different way.
As a Chinese, I also can't understand the idiom you said. I'm ashamed of that.
Ouch! That just says that my pronunciation is so bad.
No, just that I didn't understand.
But you still said it right. Okay, but now mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so now towards the last question. Okay, it's not off video. We have to get longest answer for the fourth question. Because everything now is just taken 30 minutes. Oh, no, it's enough. No, I say first.
Wait. Okay, never mind, continue, sorry.
Do you think, okay, the last question of the episode, do you think the Malaysian government should accept the influx of refugees, especially Rohingyas?
This is such a controversial one.
Yes, very controversial.
Yes.
Well, we talked
Who did
about
this question?
well, we talked
We know
yeah,
who.
it was someone whose name starts with the letter in front of my letter. Stop it.
Uh-huh.
Felicia, come on.
Felicia,
Okay.
answer it.
Okay, this is a pretty controversial question, and definitely we would have. Wait, let me think about it first. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this is definitely a pretty controversial question to be asked lah. Like we could think from the perspective of a that's more realistic. Like the human nature is selfish, like what Mr. Tai told us in the math class. Human is selfish by the nature, and we would definitely face many predicament if we do accept the influx of refugee from Rohingya Rohingyas, and but from the perspective of human rights, we shouldn't like leave them in their struggles. But from my point of view, I think this is what requires the cooperation from the United Nations. Not only our country should accept them. If we were to accept them, there should be a policy or a system that every country would have to bear this responsibility equally to make it more fair and to actually reduce our burden. Because what we need to consider is that even during the pandemic, like our own citizen of Malaysia has struggled a lot in terms of like our economic, political and social status. So when there's a situation where we can't save ourselves, like how can we save the others? So for me, there should be a better system for us to accept the influx of refugees from Rohingyas.
Well said by Felicia. Actually, I also agree with what Felicia said. If I were the government of Malaysia, I also won't accept the influx of refugees. Yeah, to be specific, Rohingyas. Because based on our country's condition, our economy has dropped recently. Our people are still suffering from the pandemic, and we still don't have a concrete policy and cooperation with the UNHCR in handling these refugees. So the influx of them will just cause social will just affect our social harmony for long term. Unless but based on humanitarian grounds, we couldn't just let them die. So it's very important, like what Felicia said, implementing a good policy with the neighbor countries is very important. Yeah. So that's what I want to say.
Yep. Like actually after the pandemic, our government did reduce the number of Rohingya refugee that we accept. But then I read it from the news. The some of the Rohingya refugee will just break their just break their boat down, then trying to threaten our government to accept them. So it's also a very difficult situation for our government as well.
They love Malaysia until don't want their life.
Wait, is it wrong that I didn't understand the joke?
Mm?
I didn't understand the joke.
Meaning they want to be in our country until they want to sacrifice their life, but in fact they don't have other choice lah. It's either like they die in their own country or they die in the sea.
So you just want them to
But
die,
the
lah.
thing is that they even don't have a country.
True.
Oh my
Myanmar,
god, so
Myanmar
sad.
government,
Die in
That
Myanmar.
hurts more. That hurts
yes,
more.
they don't
Oh my God.
admit the presence of them.
Oh,
That's
The
why they come
existence
to
of
our countries.
Rohingyas is just very
Neglected.
controversial.
Neglected.
Yep.
That's not considered.
Yes.
True. Ouch, that actually hurts more. Okay, for this question, the answers differ from every perspective. if you see from Malaysian government perspective, and they have to see from a lot of different standpoints. First of all, economically. Economically, if the refugees are working for us, then economy will rise. But from a political standpoint, if the crime rate increases, then it's bad for a country. And then from social point, it will affect the country citizens. They will have to face retrenchments if because some companies prefer to have refugees to work for them due to low pay instead of citizens. And then if you see from our point of view, it differs by a lot. Then if you see from the Rohingyas' point of view, the refugees, of course they would want them to be accepted. As Junji said, they don't even have a country on their own. From this, the Malaysian government has to think very carefully. And most points were said by both Junji and Felicia. So that's all from me. What about Guaha?
Well, it's a very controversial one because on one hand, if you say the government should accept the influx of refugees, the country's citizen would not be happy about it because of what Rishi, Felicia, and you just said just now. Due to the low pay, like employers may retrench people just to hire refugees because they can pay them less, which equates to more profit for them. But if you say like the government should stop accepting influx of refugees, like it will like the people internationally would not agree to it because like if a country doesn't accept refugees, then where should they go? Like they are still human after all, and they should have the right to seek asylum in countries of their own. And plus, we are also human. Humans should help each other. So there really isn't a yes/no answer for this lah. That's in my opinion.
Wow, human is here.
And Guaha does it again. He didn't answer yes or no. Okay, fine.
I want to add one more point. You know, during Mr. Najib time, as a
Which
prime
Mr. Najib?
minister,
I thought
Oh,
what?
hey, Dato Sri Najib.
Our PM, Mr. Najib,
Bosco.
yeah, Bosco,
Wait,
he did quite a lot of effort. He paid quite a lot of effort in helping the refugees. Because that time, it's not my opinion. I heard someone say it. Because during the time, it's quite the Pilihan Raya is just around the corner, and during that time, got one MDB, the bad news from him, and he want to divert the public's attention. So he just make the public to focus on the things related
topic
to
of
refugees.
refugee.
Yes, he just do a lot of efforts that I think he donate money to them for their education and some basic infrastructure. So the public they just divert their attention towards the refugees and they ignore that one MDB. But still, now one MDB still is our attention.
yeah, but no wonder why he has a lot of reputation among refugees. That's
Like-
interesting.
He's just a hero for refugees,
Well,
but-
people,
not
As
our
you-
country.
as you said, people are naturally selfish. If someone do good to you, you are like, yeah, you are the best person on earth. So true.
Like normally, when Pilihan Raya is around the corner, there are lots of things happen lah.
Yes.
Lots of topic being brought up, including the death penalty recently. Like, should we abolish death penalty? Blah blah blah. Yeah,
They shouldn't.
that's off the topic, but
They shouldn't abolish. Okay. Now, coming back to the question that I asked in the beginning of the episode, do you guys know how many Rohingya refugees are there in Malaysia, approximately? A, 9,000, B, 100,000, C, 300,000. The answer to that will be B, 100,000 Rohingya refugees in Malaysia. So, Felicia,
Yes.
why are you
Which
cheering?
is a monthly salary of Rishi as well.
It's too low, man.
What? It's still considered as low?
No, you will see. So Felicia's hint that Rohingya refugees are too much. It's kind of confusing one, but I mind B is 100,000.
Confusing.
Yes, there is more higher one, 300,000. There's a higher one. All right then.
But only in ASEAN, what?
Malaysia or ASEAN. All right, you got a point.
Why you break your voice? Okay. Okay.
Voice break happen on its own. I don't make them happen.
Okay.
All right. There are about 25 million refugees in the world, and our country has already accepted almost 1% of global refugees. For that, respect to Malaysia, Malaysian government. Therefore, we have to confront the issue of refugees and think about what we can do to best help them rebuild their families. Don't always treat them with colored spectacles and try to understand their situation first before you comment on their behavior. Okay, now an important announcement for those who may or may not know, we are all our SPM students and our SPM exams are approaching. Therefore, we will be stopping our podcasting for a while until April of 2023. But no worries, Instagram will still be up, so you can check us out on there. Thank you for the listeners for supporting us all this while.
So we really appreciate you guys for listening to us, even though sometimes maybe you're not agree with our point of view or stuff. But all the best to all SPM candidates in batch 05 as well. And yeah, hope it's not too sad. But see you all next year.
But you can still keep in touch with us at Instagram. You
Yes,
can DM us.
Follow our Instagram, please. The link is below the description.
We know that was a shameless plugin, but still, it is what it is. Okay, Junjie, go how? Say bye.
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 Bye, everyone. See you all in the next one.
In the next year.
April 2023.
We end our podcast with a very heavy topic.
I know.